So I decided to sample this show, The Peripheral, which is on Amazon Prime. That's where I got it anyway. And I started watching it, and immediately I kind of sat up and I thought, whoa, this is really interesting and really well written. And of course, immediately I being a writer, I looked to see who wrote it. It is based on a novel by William Gibson. And if you don't know William Gibson, he is a tremendously imaginative science fiction writer. He is said to have invented the word cyberspace. He imagined a lot of science fiction ramifications of the internet before anybody else. He's up there with kind of Philip K. Dick and that kind of writer. Now, one of the reasons I'm not a fan of science fiction is even though I think the things that they imagine are fantastic and interesting, and Gibson's imagination is certainly right up there with anybody, I find that their characters are not that interesting. And so what got me about watching the Peripheral TV series was that the dialogue and the characters were so well written. And the reason for that is that it's been adopted by one of my favorite novelists, Scott B. Smith. Now, I have a bone to pick with Scott B. Smith because he is such a good novelist. He wrote a wonderful, wonderful novel called The Simple Plan and another wonderful horror novel called The Ruin. And then he absconded to Hollywood. And he wrote the movie of The Simple Plan, for which I think he was nominated for an Oscar. But it's a good movie, but it's not. The book is wonderful. The book of Simple Plan is a wonderful, wonderful crime novel, very grim, but really wonderful. And I think he also wrote the screenplay for the movie The Ruin, which is just awful. But the novel, it's a nihilistic novel. It's not a religious novel. It's the opposite of that, but it's so good. And I just really was angry at him for going off to Hollywood and writing a lot of stuff, most of which is not all that good.
You, I'm going to Hollywood.
This is good. It's really, really entertaining. I'll show you just a little bit of the trailer so you get a feeling for what it's about.
What is it?
Cutting edge VR, Flynn. Folks want me to beta test it for a shitload of money, too. Just lay back, close your eyes.
Stop it.
Count back from 10.
This is London, but London's 70 years from what you think of as the present.
It was like being there, in your body.
You're inside the peripheral, piloting that body as if it were your own.
Holy shit.
So that's the lady who's the star is Chloe Grace Moretz, who's a very appealing actress, but hasn't really made it. You know, she's been around, she's done a lot of stuff, but has never really caught on as a major star. She's very good in this, and so is her co-star, Jack Raynor. And he's very good in it, too. They play this kind of hillbilly, a brother and sister who get sucked into this video game that turns out to be much more than a video game. And maybe the reason I recognize him is because he looks a lot like Chris Pratt in Terminal List in this. I don't know. But anyway, you might look at this and you say, oh, it's the Matrix. She's sucked into a world in her mind, but the world is real. But remember that William Gibson came before the Matrix. It's very exciting. The character played by the lead is very appealing, very womanly, which I found really nice. There's a lot of good gender stuff because people can go into this world being one gender and come out on the other end as another gender, and so they have powers that they wouldn't have had. But the soldiers in it, the men, are allowed to act like men, and it's very exciting. It's got some great action sequences. I don't want to give anything away, but it's got a couple of great action sequences. Some of them are just the kind of usual kung fu stuff, but some of them are really well plotted and played out. I found it kind of entertaining throughout, some of it really good. Its major flaw is in the last hour, the final hour of the 8th episode. And I think there may be another season, I guess, depending on whether it's popular enough. It felt to me like they cut out about 20 to 30 minutes of content, and it leaps ahead to the ending, which is a legitimate ending, but it should have been more emotional and more powerful, and they should have built to it a little bit more. It could have just used an extra long finale, and it doesn't have that, and it looked to me like stuff was cut. Another criticism I have is that the villains tend to be a little bit cliche, but there's still some interesting stuff going on there as well. The worlds are interesting. The science fiction is interesting. William Gibson, very imaginative guy. Scott B. Smith, just a terrific writer, and again, I've never forgiven him for absconding to Hollywood and stopped writing his novels, because he was the last novelist living that I really, really liked. But he has, and this is what he's done, and it's quite good. The Peripheral, I recommend it. Oh my goodness, that was so terrific. If you want more, like and subscribe, and don't forget to subscribe to the Andrew Klavan Podcast.